fire, fire for fire, fire.
Alright, chat, we're ready. I love Legendary Drops. He's super cool. I like his voice too. Yapping on about the AAA industry and how poopy they are. I'm ready. This is what the AAA industry threw away. We are so back, baby!
Don't you guys love watching a trailer, sitting back,
Like
letting out a
an
sigh
Iron
of
Maiden
relief and
shirt.
saying, yeah,
Based.
this is made for me. Nothing that makes you raise your eyebrow, nothing that makes you take a step back and think that there's something wrong with this. No, just a solid mix of gameplay and story that leaves you,
And hype.
for once, optimistic about the future. That is exceedingly rare today. More and more games we see come out have you scratching your head trying to figure out who these games are even being made for. But lately, it's become less rare with games that have been coming out of the East. Not long ago, I had made a video and I talked about how games like Black Myth Wukong and Marvel Rivals had essentially opened the floodgates, that we were going to see a torrent of live service and AAA games coming from the East that were going to reach Western audiences because people are genuinely
Stellar
looking
Blade,
for something
chat.
different. They're looking for a different perspective on things. I just didn't think that it would happen as fast as it has. Today's video is actually about Blood Message, as well as an Eastern torrent of games that we're seeing. This video is actually sponsored by Blood Message. They gave me the full creative control to explain what the game is and basically talk about whatever the heck I want to.
Sponsored.
But
Ooh.
this game feels
Ooh.
bioengineered to be exactly what a lot of people have been looking for. Imagine making something that people actually want to play. What a thought. So today, we're going to be talking about Blood Message. We're going to be talking about the torrent of Eastern games that we've seen over the last little bit. More of them that are coming
Am
up
I the only one that thinks of torrent, like, you know, pirating when he says that?
on the way. And how leaving all these players behind has left a gap for somebody else to stake their claim.
Do you guys think that there's gonna be like really weird racism from people who are like, Eastern studios bad, Western studios are getting pushed out by the Western audience? I think it's gonna happen, man.
I love being right. Now, I have
It's
covered
already
Black Myth
happening, isn't
Wukong
it?
extensively on this channel. It's arguably the biggest breakout hit in modern gaming history, coming from a brand new studio that made their very first game, winning multiple Game of the Year awards, and most notably
This looks
selling
cool.
over 20 million copies in under a month. Based on available data, I didn't know this until just now. That's a feat that has only ever been achieved by Grand Theft Auto, Pokemon, and Zelda. Take a minute to process
Pokemon!
that. A first-time developer enters into the market and instantly...
You guys don't understand how insane that is for a non-traditional AAA, like, massive studio to be able to beat Pokemon of all things. There is a lot of kids that play Pokemon.
joins a record reserved for the most iconic franchises in the entire medium.
Those damn
It's hard to even
Pokemanes.
wrap your head around, but what gave Black Myth Wukong such an overwhelming advantage, what pushed it that far, was the ability to activate both Western and Eastern audiences at the exact same time. We are completely used to seeing staggering sales figures in the West, but most of those games...
I actually disagree. I don't think it's about Western and Eastern audiences. I think it's about an audience that wants a good game with cool characters, good gameplay, and a good story. I don't think... Again, there was like a part in Black Myth Wukong where they talk about Chinese mythology, and I was watching Asmon play it a little bit. It was like right at the start where it's like a cinematic after you beat a boss. And I actually thought it was so beautifully written. And I was thinking to myself, like, damn, I didn't know there was like this like really cool Chinese mythology being explained to like even a Westerner such as myself, and thinking to myself, like, damn, they should like do this for like Western mythology. Because there is Western mythology. There's like, you know, stories and stuff like with gods and stuff. And they can't do that for the Western audience? I don't believe that. I think there's someone out there who's gonna do it one day.
don't travel. They rarely
they did with
resonate
Black
in
Myth
Eastern
Wukong.
markets. And historically, the inverse is also true. Many Eastern games are designed for local appeal and never catch fire globally. But that has started to change. Over the past few years, those markets have started to converge, and games like Genshin Impact, Black Myth Wukong, and Marvel Rivals have led that charge. It was only a matter of time before the next game dropped. And I think that game is going to be Blood Message. I sat back watching this trailer just thinking to myself, oh, here it comes. We're about to see a wellspring of fresh games and new ideas flood the market. With how accessible Unreal Engine 5 has made AAA level production and the rising success of Eastern Studios,
Unreal Engine 5 is pretty hit or miss, to be fair.
You're watching the cork pop in real time. The untapped creative potential of one of the most populous countries on Earth is finally bursting forth, bringing with it thousands of years of history, culture, and mythology that global audiences haven't even scratched yet.
You would be surprised. There's like Chinese dramas that are actually really well written. People just sleep on them because it's all in Chinese or they have subtitles and people don't want to read subtitles. I had a friend that was really into Chinese drama. She's a white girl.
Now, Blood Message is a fully single-player, narrative-driven, linear action-adventure game. You buy it once, you play it, no strings attached. It's the debut title from 24 Entertainment, a new internal team at NetEase Thunderfire, and they're not treating this like it's some type of warm-up. Every single part of this project screams like it is being positioned as a top-tier PC.
I just hope it's not one of those games like Last of Us where it's like cinematic shot after cinematic shot kind of deal. I don't like games like that where it's like constantly like, oh, you can't control your character. You have to watch this like pseudo cutscene thing. It looks good though.
Console release built to compete with some of the best games in the world. It's being built in Unreal Engine 5 with all the fidelity that implies, cinematic lighting, real-time weathering, expressive character animations, and environments that look like they've been ripped straight out of the concept art itself.
Gameplay.
They're benchmarking themselves against The Last of Us Part 1 in terms of tone and detail. The story is set in 848 AD during the final years of the Tang Dynasty, a real historical period that saw...
Dude, Chinese, like, history is kind of fucking powerful. It's really cool. My brother was really into it, and we watched, like, you know, I know not National Geographic, what is it called? The History Channel? Obviously, it's not the most stellar example and, like, accurate retelling of, you know, Chinese history, but I thought it was pretty cool watching it.
One of the last great uprisings against Tibetan control. You play as a nameless messenger caught in the aftermath of a great conflict, tasked with delivering a critical message that could change the fate of your homeland. But this isn't some war epic about generals or emperors. It's a personal story. You're escorting your son over 900 miles of brutal terrain, deserts, dead cities, occupied territory, and contested war zones, all while being hunted down by enemy forces. You're not the chosen one here. There's no prophecy, no superhuman protagonist. It's just you, your kid, and the impossible odds that are stacked against you. It's a game about persistence, about survival, about a man trying to hold his family together as the world falls apart around them, and it's rooted in a part of Chinese history that for most people outside of that region never have explored in games before. And
is this actually the gameplay? It's actually kind of cool.
Kind of thing that really sells me on games like this, because Blood Message isn't trying to strip down its identity to appeal to a global market. It leans into its culture. The Tang Dynasty is one of the most iconic periods in Chinese history, and this game uses it not just as an aesthetic, but as its backbone. The customs, the landscapes, the political backdrop, even the martial traditions, it's all woven into a world and into the world's design, the combat, and how the story unfolds. It feels purposeful, grounded, like somebody actually finally sat...
And again, she's completely covered, but she looks cute.
...down and asked, what is this...
This is why I hate these fucking feminists. Are like, oh my god, you just want a woman that's like fucking naked. It's like, no, shut up!
...story that hasn't been told, and what do people want?
She looks cute. She's got a cute dress. It looks traditional.
It's about loyalty, family, legacy, and a country that's on the edge. I was flipping through some of the YouTube comments just to see what people's thoughts on the game were, and all I saw was optimism and excitement. One guy said it looked like Uncharted, Assassin's Creed, and God of War all together.
I want to see some gameplay. I'm not convinced, even though there's like this combat rolling and shit. I'm not convinced. I want to see it.
I'm so in. Dude, so am I. Guys, this is exactly what I wanted to see out of the success of Black Myth Wukong. I wanted to see that game challenge other studios to take a step forward, tell stories, and share experiences that we have yet to know yet. I mean, outside of what the developers had said themselves, I know absolutely nothing about these historical events. The Dunhuang Uprising, the Yi Army, these aren't stories that I grew up with, but that's what makes them worth telling. I can't be the only one that feels this way. And if I am...
And you're also probably really sick and tired of the same franchises and shit being regurgitated and sold as remasters or like sequels. Feet sniffer. Oh my fucking god, dude. Did you guys man, I trained you guys too well, actually. Like, I didn't even say anything. What I was just trying to say is that people are probably fucking fatigued from all the recycled bullshit that that the AAA Western studios keep throwing at them.
It's probably my age, but for years now, we have had the same handful of cultural backdrops recycled to death. Norse mythology, Greek gods, World War II, high fantasy, cyberpunk city, zombie plagues, and every single time it's just another skin on the same set of bones. That's why
and the dad looks like a Giga Chad, but also kind of normal.
Expedition 33 felt so refreshing because it was so different, so culturally different. Meanwhile, here comes a game rooted in the collapse of the Tang Dynasty, and it's being delivered through a story about a nameless father and son. No Western point of view character, no smoothing out the cultural edges. You either
no fat woman with blue hair.
Get it or you don't. You're interested or you're not, and that's what makes something like this so powerful. From the outside, obviously, we haven't played the game yet, so we have no idea what it's really going to be like. But Blood Message doesn't just feel like it's a new story. It feels like a challenge to the entire ecosystem, a reminder that the world is a lot bigger than a handful of ideas Western studios have been stuck on for decades, because it's not just that we've seen the same ideas over and over again, it's that we've seen them repackaged, repitched, and resold so many times that they've completely lost meaning. The world ends again, the gods fall again, the hero broods again, and somehow, some way, we're supposed to pretend that a new fresh coat of paint is enough to carry a 30-hour campaign. Barely anybody talks about great stories anymore because we've heard them all. What really excites me about a lot of these Eastern games, as well as Blood Message in particular, is that they're not just tapping into a different setting, it's pulling from a completely different value system: honor, lineage, regional identity.
Traditional values that have virtually been wiped out of video games and books and television. He's hyping it too much. I mean, it is a sponsor. I really want to see, like, actual gameplay.
The tension between self and state. These aren't just universal themes, they are global ones. Anybody can get behind this stuff. And they're being filtered through a cultural lens that we almost never see in AAA games. That's what makes them fresh. That's what makes them new. That's what makes them different than everything else we've been playing. And that's what Black Myth Wukong cracked open. That's what Blood Message is capitalizing on. And if this game lands the way that I think that it might, it's going to give a lot of studios a wake-up call. I just have to say, this has to be one of the easiest sponsors that I have ever done. These guys aren't even trying to sell anything yet. All they want is for people to be conscious of the game's existence and to keep an eye out for it. That's about it. My eyes are already all over this thing. I was not surprised in the least to see how much their trailers had popped off and how excited people were just at the premise, and also that another Eastern studio is stepping up to push out another big game. I think there's a genuine level of excitement.
Yeah, there's no... Is there a gameplay trailer? No, not yet. No, it's just a reveal trailer. I don't know. I'm skeptical, but I'm kind of excited because I'm just gonna say it just from the premise alone, and I'm listening to this guy while I'm watching the cutscenes. It's kind of psyching me up. I'm like, this is kind of cool.
From audiences right now for these Eastern games, and I think it's actually coming down to cultural authenticity. When I played Black Myth Wukong, one of the things that made me step back was just how I could feel this tangible level of respect for their culture and history. You could see it in the architecture, you could see it in the art, you could see it in the cutscenes, you could see it in the writing, you could see it in the characters, you could see it all over the place. You could see it in the accuracy of those games.
And that's where the really weird Western, like, racism comes in, where people can't see past someone's, like, identity and culture and be like, oh, well, it's Chinese, well, automatically it's gonna be bad. There are people that just immediately dismiss it because of that, and then they go virtue signal on Twitter about how they're not racist. Like, I can acknowledge anyone creating a good product, man. It doesn't matter where you're from.
You just do not see that in a lot of other places. Call it millennial writing or whatever else you would like to, but one of the things that I am so exhausted by right now is the need for self-loathing and self-critiquing. Every single game has to be layered with irony rather than respect. You see a lot of these games that are being adopted rather than portrayed. That's not what these games are.
Dude, imagine if Lord of the Rings came out and it was all just, like, parody quotes and, like, memes and shit. That's kind of how Western media feels nowadays. It's so cringe and oversaturated. You ever watch like a movie like nowadays and then it's just like it's not really that serious, but it has a serious undertone? I don't know. It's like, for example, you know, the end of the world of with superheroes and stuff, and it just has to like have stupid fucking memes in it for no reason. Irony humor was overdone 10 years ago. Yeah, it just, I'm tired, I'm fatigued. It's just, give me something like, I'm not saying it has to be Lord of the Rings like, but like something that just doesn't have that stupid shit inserted into it. Wasn't that called Rings of Power? Yeah, actually. Wait, you're right. It is called Rings of Power. Marvel dialogue? Yeah, ho! The reason why Lord of the Rings and other movies that are really great and have serious tones and settings and like traditional values, they hold up so well is because the dialogue hasn't aged one bit. It came from a book from like what, like 100 years ago now, maybe? No, it was written like what, the 60s? Or the 50s. I can't remember. Like, anyway, it was really written a really long time ago, and that dialogue and the story hasn't changed at all, man. It hasn't. And people can enjoy it 100 years from now.
That's what makes them special.
World War II? Okay.
These games aren't trying to justify them to some made up, some imaginary global audience that's out there. They're confident in what they are, and that confidence resonates with other people. That kind of clarity paired with how this game is apparently supposed to play is going to make it a pretty, it's going to make it dangerous is what it's going to do. And I think that's exactly why this game is going to most likely find success. Again, we still have to wait to see exactly what it looks like, but I don't think this game is just going to make noise. I think it's going to fill a gap that this industry has left open for years. Now, there are a couple things that really stood out to me after watching the trailer and listening to what the devs were actually trying to deliver. The first is the story, not just the surface level premise, but the actual core of it. A narrative built around real virtues, a setting rooted in duty, country, and family. What grabbed me is that you're traveling through the game as father and son. That is not something that we see very often, and when we do, it is rarely.
Last time we had that was God of War. When did that God of War come out? It's been a while, huh?
Focus. Real family dynamics have largely been phased out of most modern games, and I think the value of that bond, the emotional weight that it can bring, has been lost.
Yeah, because... Okay, can I make that joke? Yeah, because... there's a lot of absent fathers.
Only two games come to mind immediately. One is God of War, and the other is The Last of Us, but they approach that idea in two very different ways. God of War is one of the very few games that actually commits to exploring that relationship. It asks, how do a parent and child learn how to trust each other? How do they change each other? How does that bond evolve under pressure? The game isn't just about surviving together, it's about learning from each other. Meanwhile, The Last of Us set up that bond beautifully, only to gut it in a sequel. It used that...
Yeah, it took a big fat dump all over because they needed to, like, you know, fit the story to the stupid writer. What's his name? I forget. He's so insignificant. He's like a gnat. I hate that. Again, the first Last of Us, obviously, I have nothing against, like, the story itself in the first one. The gameplay, it's whatever. It's kind of just a movie, but, like, it's just... Oh, it's Neil Cuckman. No, it's Neil... Why are you guys all saying Neil Fuckman? Neil Cuckman. Squeal Cuckman. His name is Neil Druckmann. That was it. Yeah.
That relationship as a springboard for a revenge arc, stripping it of its nuance and recontextualizing everything through loss, which, sure, that's a choice, but it left behind what made the first game so powerful, that shared vulnerability between two people that needed each other, that intimacy, that tension, that growth. It was all just tossed aside. And while I have my issues...
I think it's very difficult to write a convincing story with a dynamic of a parent and a child, or someone who's in the role of being a parent versus a child, is that you have to write the perspective of the kid or the teenager growing up alongside them without putting in your voice, which is that of an adult. It's hard to do that correctly and convincingly.
With both games, I will always be grateful for one thing: they showed the world from a father's perspective. And in doing that, they help me better
Like
understand my
emotions
own,
and
what it
shit,
means to
yeah.
show up, what it means to carry that weight,
at
what
him,
it
he's
means to be the
carrying a head
person a
and
kid
shit.
looks to. We almost never
And
see
he's like scolding him while he's carrying the head.
that perspective shared, and in today's world, I find
Look at
that
him.
incredibly valuable. And that's what makes Blood Meshes really stand out to me, because it's not just using that father-son relationship as a plot device. It is the plot. It's the heart of the story. And I think that matters. I love my family. And while everybody comes from a different background, I think
Yeah.
there are stories worth telling that hit even harder when they're grounded in that kind of bond. Not romantic, not self-centered, not about saving the world, just about what it means to protect the person who depends on you.
And also, if you don't have like a father figure, I know this is gonna sound cringe, but I'm sure there are some people that attach themselves to characters even though they didn't experience, like maybe they didn't have a father figure and that's what they get. I'm not saying like parasocial to that extent, but you could relate to it and like find some softness in it and being like, ah, damn, like this hits kind of hard even though I don't literally have that lived experience.
And how much
Yeah.
of yourself you're willing to give up to do
Yeah,
so.
like what people do with
Games
romance.
used to be
yeah.
like that,
I
but
would say
somewhere
that's
along
just
the way,
about
the industry
same.
just got so afraid of sincerity. Family became cringe, and the writing became so self-important. Emotional storytelling got replaced by a detached tone and safe tropes. Blood Message feels like a course correction, one that is long overdue. Something else that's really interesting about Blood Message, and it's something that I actually think might even give it a chance.
I'm also sick of like not having realistic stories like essay or like people talking about child loss or losing their parent or something, and it's not taken seriously. And I would like for that brutality but honesty to be shown through like books and movies again and video games. I know, like I saw Alice Madness Returns. I saw that on Twitter, and that story quite literally explains a really, really brutal and tragic background. I can't really spoil it, but like it's actually really, really brutal. And you're thinking to yourself, like, they used to make games like that, and now they won't even touch topics like this unless it's like, I don't know, like a self-insert or something, and it's always told really cringily.
Past Black Myth Wukong and Reach is how it plays, or rather the kind of experience that they're aiming to deliver. Because when you break
Yeah,
down
they
what the
balls
trailer
back then,
actually looks like, or what the gameplay of the trailer actually looks like, it's pulling from some of the most beloved modern action games that we have ever seen. We're talking about the cinematic storytelling of
this
The Last of
looks
Us, the weighty
awesome.
third-person action of God
see
of
that.
War, and the stealth-driven, deliberate gameplay
Cautious.
of Assassin's Creed. But here's the thing, and this is what makes it really interesting. Each one of those franchises has an underserved audience or one that they've actively driven away.
True.
I mean, it's been over 3 years since
Ubisoft is freaking dead, man.
Ragnarok dropped, and outside of some rumors and leaks, there's really no clear sign of another God of War game anytime soon. And Sony, like most of the industry, has quietly shifted their focus away from single-player
Remasters.
action games. Instead, they've been chasing live service experiments, most of which have either been delayed, canceled, or failed on launch. And
Concord.
in that shift, they have left a huge group of players behind, because there really aren't a lot of games like God of War anymore. Linear action games have become something of a dying breed. And it's not like people stopped wanting these games, it's that these studios stopped making them and they started chasing different audiences. That gap widens even more with The Last of Us and Naughty Dog. They split their fan base and walked away from the dynamic that made the original work. They're likely not working on another Uncharted game, and given the direction of their past titles and Intergalactic, which is currently in development right now, it is blatantly obvious that these
Intergalactic is gonna be such a joke. That's the one with the Porsche ad, right?
guys have walked away
Or
from
am I
serving
thinking
the
of the wrong
audiences that
one?
they had before. And then there's Assassin's Creed, which might be the most blatant example of a franchise abandoning its identity. What used to be a stealth-driven, character-focused historical fiction is now a bloated action RPG, stripping away all of the things that made it unique. The storytelling got broader, the mechanics got shallower, the historical detail just became background noise in an endless map of markers and gear scores. Ubisoft spent years chasing different audiences entirely, ones that were never loyal to the
And monetizing freaking the gameplay. Imagine if you bought Wukong and there's a battle pass in there to make your character more powerful, bro. Or like doing missions, unlocking missions to do on the side.
franchise to begin with. And now the original fans are still there. They're still waiting,
So
still
sick of
hoping
that
for
shit.
something else to come up and pick up the pieces. I mean, we can look at major publishers and we all see the exact same pattern. Everyone pivoted towards longer games, open world games, broader audiences, or some
longer games to waste your time so that it looks better, that, you know, the game... Again, people who did this with Elden Ring, this is a funny example. Elden Ring peaked at an insane amount of people playing, right? And then there were people who were like 3 months later being like, Elden Ring lost like fucking 60% of his audience in like 3 months, and there's like only 100,000 people playing it right now. This fucking sucks. And it's like, what do you mean 100k people playing after 3 months, and you think that somehow that's like bad? Like what?
some sort of live service component. That kind of game that Blood Message is trying to be, a single-player, narrative-driven, third-person action game rooted in the bonds of family and loyalty, has been quietly pushed aside. But the audience didn't simply disappear, they've just been waiting. Blood Message isn't just borrowing from these other titles, it's doing its own thing, but it's also stepping into a space that they left behind. There is a massive group of players that are out there looking for grounded, character-driven action games. Games that don't waste your time, don't talk down to you, and don't bury their identity under layers of irony and fluff. Blood Message isn't trying to reinvent the genre, they're just doing what everybody else stopped doing.
It's kind of funny, like, how flipped everything is now. Like, I thought China was pretty bad about monetization, considering, you know, they have gachas and they originated TikTok and all that, and then you're thinking to yourself, like, the games they've produced really don't really have like massive monetization, like, you know, problems, I guess. Like, what's the difference? What's really going on here?
I have another big video that I'm actually working on in the background, something that I've been meditating on, cooking for a little bit, and this video actually helped bring a few of those things to light.
Maybe make some more money.
And part of it is where the path of the player and the studio started to split. But we've also, at the exact same time, seen a lot of these newer studios and newer franchises drive straight down the middle of that split and directly back into the audience's path. And Blood Message looks like it's going to be one of those games. That makes me really excited for it. There's a lot of really cool things that they're working with here, and I honestly can't wait to see more of it.
They understand to market to the wider world. I disagree. I think that Black Myth Wukong was made for a audience just intended as gamers, and the only thing they did was that the premise was heavily Chinese, so obviously the Chinese audience would very much identify with the lore, but the Western audience managed to break through it because the story was so convincing and the gameplay was so awesome and the art direction was so cool that they overlooked it. Or not overlooked it, but like overlooked the actual, you know, idea of playing a Chinese-made game. That's what I think. Whereas with the Western audience, they're trying to make a game catering only to the modern audience in the West and nobody else.
Well, we don't know a lot about the game right now. We've only seen what they've shown and what they've talked about with the media. They're going to keep me dialed in on
We overlooked Claire Obscure being French. Exactly! Those damn French.
some of the things that are going to happen with the game in the future. And I just want to be involved with it because I think it looks badass. This is the exact kind of game that I like promoting. There's a lot of the themes that I really like. The cultural significance of these kind of things. I always feel like these kind of games have the opportunity or have the potential to be able to break down some cultural boundaries that have been up for quite a long time. And I think that these games can shape the industry, steer them back in the right direction, and also deliver us things that we just have not.
The only thing that it can directly steer is that it shows how much money they made, and that will likely change, or I would hope, change Western studios or Western massive AAA studios to think of twice before pumping out slop. Like, I don't know, maybe a few more really good games? Surely, Copium.
Seen a lot of over the last few years. Like a buy-to-play game. Why is that even a term? How cooked are we that that's even a term in the first place? Anyway, I hope...
Oh my god, is that a cat over your PC? Bro, how much hair do you have in that PC? I don't even let my cat fucking on the PC. The fuck.
If you guys enjoyed the video,
Look at
if you
this
guys
fluff
did enjoy the
ball.
video, make sure you guys check out the link in the description below. I'm actually
This guy
gonna
loves
link the
Gears of War. Holy
website for
shit.
Blood Message so you guys can get updates on it if you want to find out when the game's coming out or when the next trailer drops or whatever that might be. I want to thank Blood Message for sponsoring today's video. Appreciate it very much. Can't wait to see what they do with the game.
Cool.
And that's all I have for today. So hope you guys enjoyed it. If you
Thanks,
did, like the
dude.
channel, subscribe to the channel, share the video, comment down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. Peace.
Family. It's crazy how this guy got sponsored and he yapped for like 16 minutes and I yapped for like, I don't know, like 10 minutes. About the changes in Western gaming, dude.
Fire, 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 fire.